Hi everyone, my name is Emily Hull. Welcome to our self-defense video series brought to you by Premier Martial Arts and the Emily Taylor Center. Today we're going to be talking about ground defense. I was debating on whether I wanted to do this video or not when I was writing the curriculum, but I decided to go ahead and put it in because as Krav Maga practitioners, we want to train from a disadvantage, right? That was one of the principles we went over. So I really wanted to make sure that I covered all of my bases, and I know that some of you out there probably have thought about what happens if we end up on the ground during a self-defense situation. So I wanted to go ahead and go over a couple of these videos just to make sure that you've been exposed to that material. So there are two types of ground defense that we really train at Premier in Krav and in what we call BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So BJJ does not include strikes. You can't hit, you can't bite, you can't scratch, you can't do any of that because it is a tournament style martial art. It can be adapted for self-defense, but the way we train it is we have this grappling system called free rolling, and your goal there is to get a submission, and it's not really applicable for self-defense situations a lot of times. So in Krav, what we've done is we've taken these submissions and things like that, but tweaked them to add those strikes and combatives and getting up and out of there. Our goal in Krav ground defense is not to get that submission. The submission is only if we have no other option. If we know the only way that we can get away safe from this situation is to choke the attacker out, then so be it. But that's really our last resort. The ground is not a good place for us. When we're on our backs on the ground, there's stuff on the ground that could hurt us, like rocks, gravel, concrete, glass, things that can cut us up. Plus, gravity is totally against us in this situation, especially if the other person is still standing. So if we're on the ground and they're coming down on us with those attacks, we need to make sure that we can get up and get away. That's our third disadvantage. We need to be able to get up before we can even think about getting out of there. There's no way I'm going to be able to scooch my way out of this situation. So for those reasons, I was kind of hesitant to do this video, but I feel like it's really important to have that exposure and to start practicing just what would happen if you ended up on the ground. Hopefully we never do, but like I said, we train from disadvantages. So let's say that I was in an altercation, a situation. Maybe I was backing up, I was in my self-defense stance, they could push me, I could trip. With me, that's very likely. And somehow I ended up on the ground. So I need to make sure that I can be safe on the ground just like I would be while standing. It's obviously not ideal, but we do what we can. So my self-defense stance on the ground looks like this. So I have the same fence, the same self-defense hands as I do normally in my standing self-defense. I also want to make sure that my shoulders and my neck and head are off the ground. First of all, I don't want to be like having my head on the ground where all those rocks and things could be because I want to protect my head. But also, that's going to assist us with movement, which I'll talk about here in a second. You can also see that my dominant leg, my right leg, is up. It's sideways because if I were to kick out at somebody's leg, if their leg is here and my foot is like this, I have a higher chance of sliding off. But if my foot's like this, it's going to slide up or down, which will still hit them. So I want to make sure I keep that to the side. The easiest way is to think about your knee. Don't think about your foot turning. Think about turning your knee to the side. And once you go out here, push your heel to the ceiling. That's how we train to keep this foot to the side. So I'm here, I have my hands, I'm keeping my elbows tight to my ribs. I've got my knee out and my leg is ready in the event that I need to strike like this. And then my other foot is flat on the floor for movement purposes. So in this situation, if I wanted to move, the best way to move from here is to use this standing leg and move it side to side and either push or pull to that direction where I'm going. So if I wanted to move to my left, if there's an attacker in front of me and I want to move to my left over here, I would move my foot to the left and then I would pull my body like this. Now, the reason I want to keep my head and my neck up is because if I'm like this, that's going to be a lot of friction for me to move. Even on this carpet, it's really hard for me to move. Whereas if I'm up like this, then there's much lower surface area where I can move more easily when I move my hips. Some people like to pull to the outside or push, whichever way works. If you feel more comfortable one way with one foot, you can switch your feet and then go here and then switch back when you want to go the other way. Just try that movement and see how it works. See how you like to do it. It's really important to be comfortable with this if you're going to try it, because you don't want to end up in a self-defense situation and not be fully comfortable with what you're practicing. So one more time, in my self-defense stance, just like this, my hands are up. I can cover my head if I need to. My shoulders and neck are off the ground. My leg is to the side, and I can move by pivoting on my back and moving my planted leg. So I hope this was really great. This is just a short intro to the next couple weeks when we're going to be talking about warm-ups from the ground, standing from the ground, and combatives from the ground. So if you all have any questions or suggestions, we're getting kind of close to the end of our video series here. I was planning on stopping right before school hits, so that way we all have a bit of a time to rest, and hopefully in the fall we'll start getting back into some in-person seminars if we feel comfortable with it at that point. But again, just send me an email if you have any questions or suggestions. This was kind of just a short summary of Jiu-Jitsu and ground defense as we know it in Krav, so we'll get a little bit deeper into it next week. So thank you all for watching. See you then.